All right, let's dive right in. We're going deep into one of history's most fascinating and, frankly, most contested stories, Kumari Kandam. It's this legendary lost continent, said to be the cradle of an entire civilization. So, is it a sacred ancestral memory or a geological impossibility? Let's find out. I mean, just think about that. This is the idea at the very heart of the legend. A huge, thriving landmass, home to the first great assemblies of poets, the birthplace of Tamil culture, and the story goes that it was just catastrophically swallowed by the sea in these devastating floods. It's an absolutely epic, tragic story. And that, right there, is the million-dollar question. For some, it's an undeniable truth, something passed down for generations. But for others, it's a myth that just doesn't line up with modern science. So in this explainer, we're going to play detective. We'll look at all the clues, from ancient texts to the ocean floor, and see what we can uncover. So our investigation, it doesn't begin with maps or high-tech sonar scans. No, it starts with something much older, ancient ink on palm leaf manuscripts. You see, the very first clues to Kumari Kandam are woven right into the fabric of classical Tamil literature. You've got these incredible texts like the Silappatikaram and Manimekalai, and they talk about a huge territory called Pandyan that was claimed by the ocean. And these aren't just, passing mentions. They describe a profound, devastating loss of land that forced a whole civilization to pick up and move. The timeline that these legends lay out is just staggering. A 12th century commentary on a text called the Irayanar Agapparal claims the first two great poetic assemblies, or sangams, actually happened on this lost land. And get this, they supposedly lasted for a combined total of over 8,000 years. That is, before these devastating floods just wiped them out. So the narrative that unfolds is this incredible story of survival and resilience. It's said that with each catastrophe, the Pandyan kings and their people just moved their capital farther north, preserving their culture and eventually re-establishing their third sangam in the city of Madurai that we know today. But the question remains, is this a literal history, or is it a powerful metaphor for cultural trauma?
Okay, so the story takes a really surprising turn in the 19th century. An unexpected supporter for this ancient legend pops up, and not from poetry or ancient texts, but from Western science. And believe it or not, it all started with a puzzle about lemurs.
So back in the 1860s, a zoologist named Philip Sclater was trying to figure out how there were lemur fossils in India and Madagascar, but nowhere in between. To solve this puzzle, he came up with a theory, a hypothetical land bridge that connected the two, which he named Lemuria. It was a purely scientific idea meant to explain how animals got around.
And this is where two completely different worlds collide. In the early 20th century, Tamil scholars and nationalists heard about Sclater's theory and made a direct connection to their own ancestral story. All of a sudden, Kumari Kandam had a scientific name, Lemuria, which gave this ancient legend a whole new layer of modern credibility.
Okay, so we've got ancient texts and a now outdated scientific theory. But what about real physical evidence? Let's switch gears and see if the ocean floor itself holds any clues. People who support the theory, they point to a few really intriguing things. You've got Adam's Bridge, or Ram Setu, that chain of shoals that some say looks a little too structured to be completely natural. Divers have also found submerged man-made structures off the coast of Poompuhar. But then there's the biggest clue of all, the fact that we know for sure the sea level rose. This number is just incredible. And it's not a theory, it's a geological fact. At the end of the last ice age, when the glaciers melted, global sea levels rose by over 100 meters. Think about that. That's taller than a 30-story building. An event like that would have undeniably drowned vast coastal areas all over the planet, including right off the coast of India.
But this is where the epic legend runs headfirst into a pretty powerful counterargument. Let's take a look at how the story of a sunken continent stacks up against the fundamental principles of modern geology.
And here we are, at the core conflict. The legend describes this massive continent just sinking straight down into the ocean. But modern geology and the whole theory of plate tectonics tells us that's just not how our planet works. Continents float and drift on tectonic plates. They don't just sink into the Earth's mantle. So the scientific case against a literal Kumari Kandam really rests on three main points. First, sonar mapping of the Indian Ocean floor shows no evidence of a huge sunken landmass. Second, that vast timeline of the first Sangams. It predates what we know about the rise of big, organized civilizations. And finally, that whole Lemuria theory, it was debunked. The mystery of the lemurs was actually solved by continental drift, which showed that India and Madagascar were once connected.
So, if a massive continent didn't literally just sink into the sea, where does that leave this incredibly powerful, enduring story? What's the final verdict on the legend of Kumari Kandam?
You know, maybe the most compelling answer is one that respects both the culture and the science. The story might not be about a lost continent at all, but a deep, collective cultural memory of a very real trauma. The loss of huge areas of coastal land, and maybe even cities, to that scientifically proven sea level rise. It's a memory that actually echoes in flood myths all across the globe, a nearly universal human story of surviving a changing world.
And in the end, whether it was a continent or a coastline, the story of Kumari Kandam is still this powerful symbol of identity and resilience. It's really a testament to a culture that faced catastrophic loss, but still managed to preserve its language, its poetry, and its spirit, carrying it forward for thousands of years.
And that leaves us with this final question. Is there a literal city still waiting to be found under the waves? Or is the legend of Kumari Kandam a beautiful, haunting allegory for everything that's lost to the inevitable passage of time?